to the Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with
Tom Hane.
Nice, here at Shiprocked.
Oh, yeah.
So what's it feel like to be a castaway or a stowaway?
Yeah, stowaway.
I keep saying castaway. I'm thinking in a movie. Stowaway on Shiprocked.
It took me a minute, too.
Right?
It's interesting because you're almost accountable for nothing, but you really don't want to mess up what you're accountable for.
Right.
So you can find yourself just going like, oh, what am I going to fill my days with, or what am I going to do? But it's a lot of fun because by the time you're like today was rehearsal, and as you know, I kept you waiting a little bit, so I apologize for that. But it's fun to dial it in, and it's like the first time everybody's playing these songs together.
Right.
You know, there's a little bit of communication back and forth of like, okay, this person's going to be on this song, and okay, we got to change the key for this singer, like whoever, whatever you got to do. And at the end, it's kind of like it turns into a game of telephone.
Right.
It's like you never know how accurate any of this is going to be at the end. It's just it's kind of like karaoke. There's really no prep. There's not a lot to it. We run through the songs once, maybe twice. But, I mean, everybody's so professional, and most people are prepared. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet. And, you know, it reminds me, okay, you're going to trip out on this. My 18th birthday was at some storage place in L.A., the Dickies were practicing right next door. Yeah. And then I knew in the 80s, I knew a bunch of LA bands, so they all came to my birthday party, and they all got up on stage and played instruments they don't play and played Breaking the Law.
Okay.
Like you had Slayer there.
Yeah.
And you had like this band Savage Graces around. They just put out a new album after like 30 years.
Yeah.
I think Mustaine was there, and Armored Saint, and Wasp, and like
a bunch of heavy hitters.
All of them. And it was fucking cool. They're not even playing their instruments. They're just playing something else, and it was so much fun. And so I imagine for an artist that's really fun because like you're doing the same thing all the time, and to do something like that, it's just something fun and different to do.
And it's cool, too, because the genre that I've been kind of quote-unquote pigeonholed into, you would never think I'd be playing some of these songs. It's
right.
An 80s themed boat, so it's like playing some of the stuff, and then other people as well doing the same thing, and then it's like this amalgamation of just really eclectic artists playing these bizarre songs that they would never be playing. So it's a lot of fun.
I feel that way, too. Like, okay, so like I always like switch up my hair all the time. Like my hair was blue.
Yeah.
But I figured, okay, we're 80s themed, so I'm going to do something I did not do in the 80s, and I'm going to like do like the new wave look in my hair.
Yeah.
Because I was so fucking gatekeeper anti-new wave in the 80s, you know? Yeah. So it's like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah, I was just talking with Jesse from Killswitch about how you grow up with these like attitudes towards different genres, and like when I was young, Killswitch and like Shadows Fall, those bands were like my go-to metal bands. And I had a shirt that was a Shadows Fall shirt. It said "Eating Emo Kids for Breakfast," and I was like so anti anything that wasn't pure metal, you know.
Right.
And then I got the opportunity within this moment and toured with them and toured with a bunch of bands that were really not in my wheelhouse, and I was judgy about it at first. And then you realize all these people are so genuine.
Yeah.
And that little douchebag in the back of your head kind of goes away, and then you realize like, oh, I know that song.
Right.
Oh, I know that song too. Oh, that song. Oh, he's really talented.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. And then it's like that whole thing was completely erased from my psyche.
I love that because I always thought it was stupid back then too. Like, and I'm from the original gatekeepers that were like, if like I remember I saw the first club show I ever saw in my life that really got me to where I was like, I'm never going to a real concert again. Was Motley Crue, but before they had an album. So they weren't glam. They were more like horror punk.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were trying to light the whole Roxy on fire to bring Satan in. I'm like, oh, my God. And then, I went to, like, the first Metallica show ever, the first Slayer show ever.
That's a feather in your cap.
Right? So once I got into Slayer, It was like my friends were like, yeah, we got to burn all your Motley Crue shit. Or
Yeah.
like you would go to a Slayer show.
Isn't it weird how it's like that though? It's
I know,
like
it's stupid.
it's like a ritual.
Right.
Remove it.
And why can't you like different things? And we all did, but
Yeah.
nobody admitted it.
Yes.
You know?
That's the thing too for me
Right.
too. I was like, I knew what I like. There was stuff that crept in, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. But
Right.
I'm not going to tell anybody.
Exactly.
because I
No
gotta be a
doubt.
cool guy,
Yeah.
high schooler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like you go to a Slayer show, and if somebody showed up with Motley Crue shirt, Freudian slip, and somebody would like rip their shirt off their back, throw it up to Tom, and he would burn it on stage.
Yeah.
And I think about that, I'm like, I thought it was really cool then, and now I'm like, what a dick move.
Yeah, I think that just comes with, I'm not an old man by any means, but I feel like I'm pretty wise for my age, and I think it comes from just experiencing other people from different walks of life and stuff. I think touring opened that up to me too. And
Yeah.
not just meeting touring people, but other just people on tour, like fans or just, you know, going through a random state on a day off. And perspective is huge for stuff like that. People get so locked into their way of life in their hometown, and you feel like branching out of that is almost,
No
you know,
doubt.
like sacrilegious or something like
I
that.
think, and correct me if I'm wrong too, when you go on tour with these other artists that maybe you would have been against when you were
Yeah.
younger, and then you find out that maybe they're just like you, like they're an
So many
artist
times.
and they're so cool,
Yeah.
and why were you thinking they were dicks or
We're all
whatever
just
else?
painted with different colors, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We're all trying to do the same thing, and it's kind of weird to judge somebody for something like that, because at the end of the day, artists should support other artists, and
Yep.
like to be anti anything is just keeping your own interest, you know, pushed down.
Right.
So if we all got along, I mean, yeah, that's classic, you know.
Right.
Can't we just get along? But if that truly happened, I think the whole rock and metal genre would be stronger for it.
I think so. And even back in the day, like I had hair down to my waist.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to punk shows, which I wanted to.
Yeah.
I love punk
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I'd get my ass beat if I went.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember I was doing Hellfest right after COVID,
Yeah.
and I was interviewing Discharge. I'm like, you're one of my favorite bands, and this is the first time I've ever been able to see you, because
Crazy.
back in the day, I would have gotten my ass beat.
Yeah.
And like, he was like, yeah, it was fucking stupid.
I think you came up at a time where it was still physically violent.
Oh, yeah.
The kids and stuff around me were just like, you know, verbally bullies, which is even, I don't know, they're both stupid. But it's they're just like, oh, you're going to go to a, you know, Less Than Jake show or something,
Right.
you know what I mean?
It was stupid, too, because, like, in high school back in the day, like, now it's a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
But there were a handful of us that were metalheads, a handful of us that were punks, and the jocks were bullying both of us, yet we would fight with each other. Why wouldn't we band together?
Exactly.
You know?
It's really stupid.
Right?
It's really stupid, and it's based on probably nothing,
No doubt.
but just some kind of, how do we even have egos when we're that young? I don't get it. But that's all it's based off of. It's just a cool kids club, and
yeah.
I think it's extremely weird.
I'm
and it
so
needs to
glad
go-
it's
it
not.
needs to go away. I feel like it's going away a little bit more.
I feel like it's almost gone now. Like, especially, okay, so you talk about like European festivals that I
Yeah.
cover. And like, I remember interviewing Jacoby Shaddix once. and,
like, shout out Jacoby Shaddix. He's one of my favorite people on earth. We toured with him
fucking
a bunch.
coolest
He's such
dude.
a good dude.
He is such a cool dude.
Yeah.
And what he said was, like, I'm asking him, so what's it like as an artist to play European festivals?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, it's the coolest shit ever, because you're playing at a festival, and then after your set, you're standing side stage watching Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah. It's
You
so
know?
eclectic and so diverse, and it is much less judgy.
Yeah.
Like, much less judgy.
Totally.
But we're also in a weird time, too. I'm not on TikTok, but I know that TikTok's coming and going and whatever, but the TikTok generation of kids, like, they don't care when something's released.
Right.
Like, it's weird because songs that would have been popular like 30 years ago, they're just hearing for the first time, but then it's like going, you know, viral.
Right.
And it's like this resurgence of old music that, like,
Well, look at
would
what
not have gone viral for any other reason other than social media.
Look at what happened with "Can You Feel My Heart."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh my God, TikTok made that like a #1 song after
Yeah.
how many
Yeah.
years?
It was a big song before, but then it was a massive song
Right?
afterwards. Yeah.
It is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, there's two ways to look at TikTok, but I think it also gives artists a lot of opportunity that they never had before.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little behind the times on that, but it's definitely a force for artists. If you know how to, I don't want to say exploit, if you know how to play that game, you can definitely fast track your career and you can get some genuine fans out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I was watching this one band or following this one band on TikTok that was like pretty new. They were a metal band, and they kept shouting out Jack Black, because the singer kind of looked like Jack Black and had the same type of voice and would do the same like this. And, the next thing you know, Jack Black did a stitch of their thing.
Yeah, they did
and then they had 1 million followers just like that.
That's all it takes.
Right?
Isn't that weird?
It blows my mind.
It's because marketing is less valuable than it used to be. In terms of traditional marketing, right? A moment like that with somebody that resonates with people on a large scale can overnight change your band. Overnight
100%.
change a band's career.
So that if you take the positive of nowadays, I think that's something you wouldn't have had back when.
I try to look at the positive of almost everything.
Exactly.
And that's a good one for sure.
No doubt.
It's pretty cool.
So you also just set up your new rehearsal studio. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been just trying to I work from home, I write music for a living, and I do stuff like that all the time, and I love my wife, and I love my dogs and all that, but sometimes you just need to, have a space that's not at home. Yeah. Because your creative battery can get weird sometimes.
Or interrupted.
Yes. Sometimes for a good reason, sometimes not for a good reason, but that's part of the deal. So, I have, my full songwriting studio at my home still, but if I want to just go and not annoy the whole neighborhood and do my own thing and just have my drum zen moment, I'll pop over there.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
What else you have going on in 2025 you want people to know about?
I'm trying to think of what I can talk about.
Right.
There's some cool stuff. I don't think I can announce it yet, but I'm finishing up writing with Motionless and White. I write a lot of stuff with them. And
nice.
We toured with them back in the day. Within This Moment, we became pretty close.
Chris is the coolest dude.
You know Chris? Yeah.
Oh, real well.
Chris is.
We're friends now after interviewing him. I interviewed them when they were nobody, and all along, and he's just the coolest, nicest dude.
I'm really beyond proud of that guy and that whole camp. They deserve everything that's happening to them right now, and he was one of the first people to actually trust me as a songwriter, you know what I mean? Because I was just in This Moment as a drummer and never really talked about the fact that I write music as well.
And you probably get pigeonholed when you're a drummer, especially.
100%. Yeah, people don't assume that I know how to play any other instruments.
Right.
You know what I mean? But what happened is they lost their drummer after their infamous record, and they were going in to record Reincarnate. And I sent a text, as a joke, let me know if you need me to cut any drums on the record. And it was actually.
Right?
Can you?
Wow.
And then I was like, yeah, I would love to. And then from there, I was like, I only did drums, but we became closer and we got to talk, and I was like, yeah, man, if you ever want to write or work with any songwriters or anything, I love writing music. And he's like, well, send me some stuff. I sent him some stuff, and he's like, this is you? He's like, why aren't you writing music? I was like, I don't know. You don't know how to do anything until you figure out how to do it, right?
Exactly.
The hardest part of anything in this industry is connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And I'm by no means have I connected all the dots yet, but I'm working every day.
You're doing it,
that,
though.
you know what I mean?
You're getting there.
So that was a big step for me, because a lot of people don't want to write with you unless they know who you wrote for before. It's like the chicken and the egg thing, But Chris, all he really cared about was is it cool or not?
Nice.
And he thought it was cool, so we started working together. And then, after that, we did the Graveyard Shift record, we did the Disguise record, we did Scoring the End of the World, and now we're doing his new record. So
I love it.
It's going to be awesome.
And I love hearing all this positive stuff because, I won't mention, but there's somebody on TikTok, speaking of TikTok, that likes to blast him.
Oh, yeah. I think I might know who you're talking about.
And I'm like, I don't get it. This is the nicest dude in the world.
Yeah.
Be a dick to somebody else.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from, it's a style of PR,
Oh, yeah. That person definitely, that's their style of PR.
Yeah, and I'm not going to name names either. I see other bands going oh, we could probably do that too. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is not the bandwagon that we should all be hopping on. You know what I mean? Maybe we could just be nicer to each other. But yeah, I think it's a little weird. I'm not a fan of bully culture in general.
And artists should always support artists,
exactly,
period.
Like we talked about earlier. But yeah, it sucks even giving that energy, to him. But what are you going to do? I mean,
that's the main reason I wouldn't mention the name, because I'm not going to promote the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm mentioning and everybody's following him because of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm in the same boat with you, and it's weird, and the people that just latch onto it too. I think that not to get political, I think it happens a lot in politics too. They'll just hear something and take it for fact because they heard it from whatever party they believe in. They're like, well, it has to be true. They said that.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that.
Some of the shit that I've been hearing from said person that we talked about before is just like so far from a truth. So.
And I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So that's like, I feel bad too, not for him, but it's like these people that are following him that they buy into it just like they buy into politicians, like you said.
It's just, what are you going to do?
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have something exciting for you. This is something I haven't worn since I'm 16. It's the first, I go to all the festivals. I've never brought it, but I figured because we're 80s themed.
Oh, tell me.
I brought my battle vest.
Oh,
yes.
Damn.
Okay, so what I want you to do is look at this whole thing. I drew everything on here.
Yeah.
Look at the front. I want you to pick the band on here that you would love to tour with.
Oh, man. You got a lot of good shit on here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
In fact, it's so old, that Slayer up there, they didn't have Slayer patches yet, so
you had to do it yourself?
And I was in L.A., and people thought I was a gangbanger, and my gang name was Slayer.
That's funny. I'm going to go with because I'm a little out of the metal stuff nowadays, but I'm going to go with what the childhood me would have loved the most, and I was obsessed with Megadeth.
Nice.
So I'm going to go with Megadeth. When I was a kid, I was always Megadeth over Metallica, but I loved them both. But if
I love them
gun to
both
your head,
too.
I got to pick one, Megadeth.
I love them both too, but I love Dave, and what an amazing musician he is, and putting that jazz influence into the metal
That's
guitar.
what always got me.
Right?
As I get older, I drum more for the song, but when I was a kid, I just wanted to explore all of the obscure time signatures and weird rhythmic patterns and things like that. So, yeah, Megadeth was always more interesting to me. He always had great musicians. Knocking Metallica, but he always had amazing musicians on his record.
And him himself.
Yeah,
He's one of the best guitarists ever,
Goes
in my
without saying
opinion.
on that one.
Right?
Yeah. But yes, absolutely.
So you're going to love this, okay? So that first Metallica show I told you I went to.
Yeah.
It was back in the day, and Sunset Strip days, Troubadour and all that in L.A., and there were 25 of us at this show.
Yeah.
And this dude comes up to me after the show, as used to happen back then, after getting off the stage.
Yeah.
And he starts talking to me. He was cool as shit. And then he hands me, I wish I had it today, his business card.
Mm-hmm.
Said, Metallica, power metal, Dave Mustaine.
Wow.
Right?
Damn.
So, yeah, I
That's
saw
crazy.
him with Metallica. And
Yeah, that's some epic shit. We're playing a Metallica song. I'm playing Whiplash this year.
Oh!
That's going to be on the Stowaways.
So,
no, I can say it here. Nobody's going to
Yeah, nobody's
going to
know
by
till-
the time they're here.
right.
Yeah.
And you know what's amazing about that?
Yeah.
Is now I really want to go because that's probably my favorite Metallica song of all time. Why? Because back in the day, we would go to the Metallica shows, go to their house afterwards, and turn on Whiplash, and there would be a line of 50 of us all headbanging to Whiplash.
Yeah, it's going to be sick. It's the second set.
Nice.
So it'll be on Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't miss that then.
Yeah, it's
for
gonna
sure.
be a good time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell the listeners about that we haven't covered already?
I'm trying to think. Unfortunately, you know how it goes sometimes. You just can't talk about shit until you're allowed to.
Exactly. So you know what people have to do then. Tell them your socials, tell them how to reach you so that they can find out this shit when you announce it.
I'm a lazy guy, so really just Instagram at drummer Tom Hane. And then I'm in the process of creating a project, but it's nowhere near coming to fruition yet. So to follow all things Tom Hane, go to at drummer Tom Hane.
There it is.
Enjoy whatever it is I have to offer.
So I was a drummer for 9 years when I was a kid, and I sucked. So I switched to guitar. I sucked at that. I sang thrash metal, sucked at that. So here I am talking to you. But
Yeah.
who was the drummer that made you feel like you wanted to play the drums?
Well, I started drumming when I was 3.
Oh, Well then,
So I don't even know if I fully understood.
That's why you're so good.
A hero, right? I didn't have my dad's a drummer, but he's like a lefty that plays on a righty kit.
Oh, really?
So he's like,
I'm a lefty.
Don't learn anything from me.
Yeah, I'm a lefty too, and it is hard like that. Like even with guitar, it's like weird.
Yeah, so he plays a righty drum set, so the hi-hat's on the left, but he also puts his ride cymbal on the left.
Ah.
So he was just like, just don't. We'll get you your own drum set. Don't learn anything I have to offer here, But yeah, I mean, once I could really start thinking about, like the art behind it, not just like I like drumming and, I have rhythm in my blood,
Right.
I think Vinnie Paul was like, because once I got into metal, I started really taking it seriously. I grew up in like playing blues and funk, and I got all my like groove chops through that, which I'm really appreciative of.
That makes you better.
And then fell in love with punk and had a brief ska moment. My first concert was Less Than Jake and Bon Jovi. How weird is that? Oh, wow.
That is weird.
So I had the moment of that, and then I remember seeing Slipknot on Jay Leno, and I went, what the hell is that? And then I saw like, System of a Down and that whole era, like Papa Roach growing up, like that was a gateway band for sure. Funny sidebar about Papa Roach. I brought my mom to a show that we were playing nearby, and we were playing with Papa Roach, and I introduced them, to my mom, and they're like the nicest dudes.
Oh, they are. They're so down to earth.
And my mom is not like awkward, like she's like a very, verbose kind of woman, but in a good way. She's like, I broke my son's CD because you guys wrote vulgar stuff, and she's not anti that by any means, but I was like 8 or 9 when that came out. She's like, I don't need you hearing that. She basically said I broke the explicit one, but I bought him another one from like Walmart or Sam's Club that had no swearing on it. And Jacoby was like, oh, thanks. We got paid twice, So that was a cool moment for her. And it was cool for me, too, because it was a funny thing for me to just like step back and watch them interact,
Yeah.
And just like a person that I thought I would never meet as a kid or like, is now just a friend. And he's talking to my mom, and they're talking about how she just broke the CD when I was a child. Just things like that are super funny and just like really cool, and like I'll value experience, like I cherish experiences.
Well, I love hearing about that. It's like these listeners, they don't realize that you guys are just normal people.
100%.
And I love to point that out.
Toured with Vinnie Paul. So there you go. Like back to like heroes, right?
Right.
Vinnie Paul, we toured In This Moment and Hell Yeah toured together, and Vinnie came up to me. They were opening for us, which was like, to me, that was like, what the
weird,
fuck
right?
is happening? And he was like, hey, can I borrow your drum riser? And I was like, yeah, my hero, you can borrow my drum riser,
Wow.
I don't get like weird. I don't think I was weird. I probably was, but I don't get weird around many artists because I do realize that they're all just people. But there's certain people where you're like, man, I grew up you were the guy.
There are certain people, like doing what I do, I very rarely like fanboy out who I'm interviewing, but there are some times. Like there was one time, you were talking about Slipknot, but I was covering a Stone Sour show, and I was on the bus with Roy, and we did an interview, and I got off the bus. I sat down on the curb with smoking a cigarette. This dude walks over to me. I knew who he was, but I pretend like I didn't, not pretend I didn't, but didn't.
Yeah, you didn't want to be a Punisher.
And he started talking to me, and I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, I can't believe I'm fucking sitting here talking about the weather with Corey Taylor.
Yeah.
Like,
Corey's a nice guy, too.
He is.
Shout out Roy, because Roy is one of my favorite people.
He was such a cool dude.
We actually did Shiprocked together last year, Roy. We were just attached at the hip. Like, he's the man.
He is really cool.
I toured with Stone Sour a while ago, or at this point, a long time ago. But getting to know them was really awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's the stuff I think listeners need to think about, because they see the persona. I get it too. Like I get people that they see my radio persona and they think that's me.
Yeah.
It's a part of you.
Yeah.
But it's not all of you.
You got to put a little bit of a face on it, and in a band like Slipknot, they got to put a big old face on it, and the whole thing is to be larger than life, and just be like, when you see them get on stage, it's like a presence. It's not like people are walking on stage. It's like an entity has entered the building or the arena or whatever. And but that doesn't mean that's who they are.
Exactly.
You know?
There's so many other facets of who you are.
They get off stage and they're like, okay, what's after show food? You know?
Right. Exactly.
It's like, okay, we're getting pizza? You know, and it's just, at that moment, they're just a person again. You know?
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
And so, man, I'm super happy you're here at Shiprocked. I'm super happy that we did connect because now I know you're going to play fucking Whiplash.
Yeah.
And
it's going to be sick.
that's going to be the most epic part of Shiprocked, I think.
Yeah. Sorry I kept you waiting, but at least it'll be fun to watch.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Whiplash is worth the wait.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. Well,
And-
thank you for having me, man.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you for being on the Adventures of
Yes,
Pipeman.
of course. Hey, what's up? I'm Tom Hane, and you're listening to Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.